Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Goethe Institut-Wyoming building. I'm very happy that you're all here. The Goethe Institute New York is very happy to present this evening, this performance evening, as a part of the annual convention of the Black German Cultural Society. What is the Black German experience, history, performance, popular and visual cultures? And we have this evening with Olumide Popoola and Philipp Khabo Koepsell, which I'm going to introduce in just a few minutes. But let me first thank the Black German Cultural Society and Rosemary Peña to reach out to us. We're very happy to cooperate on this. The same thanks goes to Tina Kempt and the Africana Studies program at Barnard. It's really a great honor for us that we can work on this together, and I was really very happy to be part of this during this day today. It was an exciting first day of this conference. I would also like to thank our team, Sarah, Isabel, Lee, and Trace, and Michael. So just a few words for this evening. We're going to have two short performances of about half an hour each. First with Olumide Popoola and then with Philipp Koepsell. And then after that we're going to follow up with a Q&A which Tina is going to do. Yes. Please. Will you do that?
Yes.
It would be great if you could switch off your cell phones, because this might actually be a good idea. So, the two artists that we have here I'm going to introduce real quick. First, we're going to see Olumide Popoola, and I'm very happy that you're here tonight. Olumide is a Nigerian-German author, poet, performer, and speaker. She presents internationally, often collaborating with musicians and other artists. Her work concerns critical investigation into the in-between of culture, language, and public space, where a sometimes uncomfortable look at complexity is needed. She's a PhD candidate in creative writing at the University of East London and working on a cross-genre novel exploring vernacular and hybrid literary forms, which expands on her interest in cross-genre work and the notion of vernacular or hybrid languages as literary opportunities for social and cultural change. Her novella, This Is Not About Sadness, and I think you can buy this there, is her first book-length work of fiction published by Unrast Verlag in October 2010 through their Insurrection Notes. The second artist tonight is Philipp Khabo Koepsell, whose book you can also buy in the front, if you would like. He's a Berlin-based poet and spoken word performer of German and South African descent. He's a recent graduate of Humboldt University's African Studies Department and the author of Die Akte James Knopf, Afrodeutsche Wort- und Streitkunst, which is actually a book of poetry in which he reflects on racism, society, and Germany's colonial past. In addition to the book and his readings, performances based on his work, he is the creator of a weblog, also with the name Die James Knopf, Fußnoten zu Gesellschaft und Rassismus, Empowerment und Performance, which features satirical essays, academic papers, poetry, and video clips on the topic of racism and empowerment. So thanks also to Philipp for coming. We're very happy you both are here, and I will give the floor to you.
Thank you for a very, very nice introduction. This is going to be funny because I usually take the mic and I walk around, and I can't do this, so we're going to see how it's going to work. First of all, thank you. Where's Rosemary? Thank you so much. Rosemary Peña, she was the first one to reach out and send out a preliminary invitation, and I'm really grateful it all came together. I feel honored to be here, and it's always great to be part of events like this, because it's very important for us to be in conversation. As thinkers, as artists, as activists, we need that sort of exchange. Of course, Tina Kampt and all the other organizers, my thank yous, of course, extended to you as well. And the Goethe Institute for hosting us tonight, and especially Sarah Stevenson, who I've been in a lot of contact with, and who's been brilliant with anything that had to do with logistics. So thank you, everyone, for making this possible. Tonight, I'm not so much presenting, my creative work I'm presenting is not so much about the Black German experience, but I want to contextualize it, and then you'll understand why it will make sense even in this context. So I'm going to read from the book, This Is Not About Sadness, which I recently published. And I thought I could best contextualize it if I talk about what my work usually is about. And there's a few things that came up today during the panels already, and I wrote them down because I want to get that together. So it's very much about who can speak, yeah, very simply. Who can speak? How can they speak? Can they speak on their own terms? Are they allowed to take the space they need to speak, or is somebody throwing them a few crumbs and then say, okay, you can also play for a minute? And most importantly, are they allowed to name themselves? And that's where my very active Black German experience started as a very young girl, when we were very busy with having to take that space to name ourselves, and very often we're denied that space, where everybody who speaks German will know which term I talk about as a specific term that we were given as Black Germans, which was very racist. Yet we were not allowed to resist it and say, no, I actually want to be called Black German, because the dominant white gaze said, no, this is the term for you. So my novella is very much about issues like that. Who is speaking and how can they speak? And how much space can they take? So I want my characters to be able to take up space, maybe even more than I would have personally liked them to. Very shortly before I start, the novella is about the friendship of two women, one a young South African activist who comes to London, and the other one a Jamaican pensioner who's already been living in London for a while. And they are neighbors, and they form a very unlikely friendship. Because they speak and not speak. Experiences come in all manners. They spread and engage, tug and pull, question and challenge, much longer than you desire. My name is Teboho. I arrived yesterday. It is spring, they say, but I was not prepared for this. What a strange city. It looks nice outside with the sun shining, the clouds sitting fat and well-fed underneath the blue of the sky. But when we stepped out of the cab, it was not as I had expected it. The wind is too cold. It hits from the west, it drops sharply south, then spreads into all directions. Everything shivers. It is cold, but I'm glad I'm here. If not for Lucky and his broad smile, I would be crying right now. I'm glad I'm here, really. I'm here to forget what happened on the corner of Kuma and Potch. That stretch of red earth before the tar begins, where the fine dust is whisked up by speeding cars, where the soil is hard but layered with the finest of dust. 3 months and 15 days ago, I stood on that corner. Zanele and Perdita were having one of their usual arguments, so I'd left the party. Not to disappear, not to smoke. I don't, not even dacha. I just wanted to catch some air, think about what to do, and if this was going to be one of those nights, and I had to make the long way to number 36 back by myself. Although it was going to be Sunday, I had work to do, finishing the set at the Windy Brow, where I was doing my internship in stage design. It was my final month, and it had gone well, very well, mainly because I know how to stay out of trouble. At least I used to. I was standing on the corner thinking about how I would make that long journey from Soweto, while Zanele and Perdita were still at each other's throats, filled to the rim with cheap booze like a vat of freshly brewed beer, with no one else around that cared. We hardly knew anyone at that party, but I thought, better go than wonder about what we had missed. Now I was stranded there, Those two always found a reason to fight, then make up. It was their pattern. One time, they had even driven off without me, still shouting, and only in the morning did they remember that they had left their best friend to beg for a bit of space in other people's overcrowded cars. I stood on that dusty corner, only for a few minutes. When your life changes, you cannot foresee the impacts. But when it does, the things that happen are unstoppable. Like the dust, they get carried away with the current. Like the wind, they bury themselves deep in your bones, and slowly from the inside out, you start peeling away. Your old self stripping off all that was truth, one layer at a time. Never to be innocent again. My name is Teboho. I arrived yesterday. Well, she came one day, small and fragile. Pretty little thing, but you think she can carry bricks, so. I never want to talk to her. Me, I just sitting in my front room looking out at the window. Me no need no young little thing to tell me how the world must run. Nah. She always got something to say. Asking, always asking. Then her eyes look upon me, like say she never gonna see me again. Her big eyes. Like she won't find something upon the bottom of the well. Me, well, very well. But no well, no so. She worked hard. Man, she could have worked hard. Drag all of them old things out of the house, clear the garden, all by herself. It was an accident. Everyone says so. Everyone comes with a past. That's where the story lies, naturally. She came in a cab. Motor running, cabby leaning against the black roof, smoking. Lucky running inside, getting more money for the fare. His step, heavy from the weight of his belly, absorbed by the asphalt. Inside the vehicle, the girl. If frailness was a measurement, she would have scored a 6 out of 10. Evenness is what best described how she seemed. Small, slender, and very polite looking. But somehow you thought she'd call you out if need be, very matter of fact, straight away. Then the dragging of a suitcase, Lucky smiling, cab driving off, the girl freezing, looking for the first time at her new environment. The grey house, not Lucky's, but inside his dark ground floor flat, wedged between others, snug and tight, a mid-terrace Victorian house. This is how she arrived on Cobain Street. The next morning, routine starts. Lucky off to work as usual, early shift, London barely lit by a hopeful sky. He returns in the afternoon. He smiles, always does, and a few minutes later they both stroll to the supermarket. She's chatty now, alive. Her face remains uncreased and well-arranged, but her eyes awake now travel and extend to the distances between houses and corners, street signs and shops, local pub and butcher. Attentive, she asks questions and holds Lucky's hand like a friend does. On their way back, she points to the house and laughs again. They all look the same. Yeah, Lucky replies. The woman tending to a front garden next door, she's a familiar fixture on the street. Bent over, she's big-boned and hunched permanently. They speak. Lucky introduces the girl, but the woman's lips hardly move. In her hand, a small scoop. She keeps her eyes on the bit of soil between the pavement and the flagstones in front of the entrance to her house. The tool grips the earth she's watered, like she's making an incision. Metal drives itself into soil, but she doesn't look up long enough for the sun to make her eyes blink. The girl looks at Lucky, startled. He shrugs. These are the peculiarities. There are many, like everywhere. Lucky unlocks the front door, but the girl's gaze remains. Glued to the very spot she's standing on, she can't move. The woman's hands are moving, scraping, tugging. Weeds are piled neatly, the flagstone framed on all corners by brown alone, almost a third of them cleared of vegetation. Lucky calls from inside. The girl follows him, then turns around again. A beautiful flower bed you have here. Immersed in her work, there's a faint, So well cared for, I can see. The woman is returning to her work, her back square and solid, warding off. You must be, but there won't be an answer. The girl's eyes linger for another second, then she follows Lucky into the house. Their door shuts and there is laughter again, pots rattle. Later there'll be food and friends, there's table set in the kitchen, guests arriving. The girl will meet many, lucky a smiling host. Music from an iPod hooked onto an old-fashioned stereo that came with the flat, and more laughter, which sticks to the wall like condensation. Next door, the woman, the gardener, the one with no speech for the girl. She's on the bed, her feet dangling slightly in the air. Her day has been divided between the front yard and the inside of her flat, the washing neatly folded on the chair in the bedroom. She'll put it away another day, tomorrow perhaps, when there are more hours of the same week broken by the visit to the church she herself won't make. Her night is restless on the single bed, her ears distracted by the young voices next door, crawling through the air like a raccoon's touch through a tense wall, soft, almost dismissible, but with a faint imprint of certainty. People. She tosses right and left, her gown tangling with each move. Her eyes squint now in a way they did not in the afternoon when the neighbors passed. Now they stare into the dark room, asking for sleep. In the morning when she rises, there's a sore spot on her lower back. There the mattress left an impression, the unrest. I never know how she comes sitting in my garden. She always talk, always. Me never have nothing to say. What me I say? Little thing she is, why she gonna have to talk to me? Me just mind my own business, harm nobody. I know all of them think me crazy or something. Make them talk. Me don't do nothing to nobody. Take a little bit. Okay, that was the beginning, how the two main characters meet each other, and I wanted to read another section from later on that relates to things that I think about when I think about Black German experience or identity in countries and placing oneself, and those are issues around culture and tradition and that big thing called belonging. Anyway, so you will know. So by now the Table who had just arrived, she has started giving classes at a community center, so she's in full swing in her life in North London. The girl is busy again. She runs 2 drama classes at the community center now and organizes a group of women to meet on Thursdays. They do crafts and talk. The girl wants them to tell their stories in fabric. A large rectangular piece of felt is hanging on the little room's back wall. It's crimson, like the burning of a sky, a perfect sunset. And it's hanging there for them to fill with little squares. Their art, she says. Stones and beads and threads, all colorful, everything is allowed, shells and trinkets and pictures. She says that histories are futures in the making, and it's good to carry all, but leave it to linger in the present for a bit. It needs to breathe, so it can know where it is and what it is supposed to do. Then one, or actually history itself, would know what is important and which past does not need to be carried forth. But it takes a bit of patience, she says, and laughs, as the others look at her with pitiful looks, as if she was one of those distracted professors talking on their favorite subject. The young woman she bumped into on the street, close to Tesco's, is there with her little girl, but they separate for the 2-hour session, and the toddler with the puff stay in the creche. The girl smiles and rushes between the few women who come to the shabby center. A hand is lent here, admiration passed on there. They work, they speak, they share ideas. The group. Sometimes it's about the space one has for oneself, the girl says. Many times one has to make that space, whether they're kids or chores or painful memories or too much work. That space that will house joy. After a few weeks, she asked who would like to expand on the story of their work. No one wants to, so she does. She shows them a square of green Dutch wax print. It has a pattern of pink and blue flowers extending from its brown branches. It is a busy scrap, but the girl has added tiny beads in ochre to it on one corner. They're making it a 3D piece. She laughs and her fingers run over the rise. This is the earth, she says. The branches are what holds us. They are what needs to remain. The flowers represent how we try to escape, be it in reality or in the dreams we spin. They are both opportunities, and unfortunately, we need both. Like tradition, the young mother interrupts. How she means this, the girl wants to know. How, for instance, there was the case of the woman who was going to be flogged for wearing pants, that it actually wasn't against the law. Nowhere did it say women could not wear pants, but it was against tradition. And tradition is good because it carries culture, it glues us together, makes us feel the thing, that big thing, belonging. But people make tradition and say that it was always like that, when really it is someone exerting power, making us believe that there's only one way of being that is right. And the only thing that almost always stays the same is that someone has power over others, isn't it? But as things, histories, become futures, like the girl said, they can change in the present, don't they? Don't they, she wants to know. I wait for him to call me. He said he'd call me when he hear anything. The police is looking, but how do I look for a grown girl? I say nothing. What to say? I want the girl back. I just want her back in my kitchen so I can tell him, lucky that is, tell him she back. I want the girl back, but she never come. She never come. Two that come to the group are quiet. Their feet are scratching the cheap and heavily stained carpet. They purse their lips and look away when the young woman speaks. Their eyes meet each other's and exchange looks laden with disapproval. When they discuss tradition and how futures could be made, they breathe in sharply. Their noses flare. The following week, they don't come back, but the quilt takes on shape. They all sit across the pressed wood chip table, which is lacquered in the make-believe wood pattern that make all offices look the same and slightly plastic. It's only the girl, the young mother, two other women who are all chatty most of the time and in colorful outfits, and a mother and a daughter who haven't said much in the other meetings. It was the daughter that said they should just try it. Quick, short glances were exchanged when they first came to the first session, but her friend does not entertain their stares. The mother, she comes in burqa. The daughter has a scarf around her face and usually wear jeans and blouses. Hair square, the piece of cloth is carefully decorated with the tiniest of stitches. Different colors breaking from small shapes into contours and figures in a small scene. The girl is burning to know more about this beautiful picture, but it is the young mother, the one with the toddler, who clears her throat and shows what she's been doing, and the girl's gaze travels back from the older mother's hand to the young woman on her right. She takes her turn to show them her work. It has one single pattern of henna, a small decoration, exquisitely beautiful and tender, and one shoot only with a few branches that curl and retwist, sometimes closing in on themselves, sometimes reaching, and remaining open, but always repeating themselves. It's about memory and love, like what was talked about last week, she says. Tradition, culture, and what needs to remain, and who needs which part, what you need to hold, and what you need to let go of. And in the middle of that, the balance. The balance. Thank you.
Hi there. I know there's a problem with the microphone because when I speak like this, you don't hear it amplified, but it's basically for the recording, so can you understand me in the back? Yes. All right, perfectly. So hi, my name is Philipp Khabo Koepsell. I'm from Berlin, and I am a, spoken word performer, poet, if you might say so. And I prepared a couple of pieces. And since the name of the conference is What is the Black German Experience? I did reflect on that. And some of the pieces are in this book, which you can buy over there. And of course, it's very personal for me. The subjective is very it's very close. So there's hardly such a thing as the so-called the author I and the lyrical I in the context. So it's very close to my personal experience. So yes, please respect that. So yeah, what about me? I grew up, well, I live in Berlin, but I actually grew up in a village, in a 700 soul village, being the only person of African descent, being one of 2 people of color in that village. I guess you guys prefer the term town in this case, I was told. No, it was a village, really, like cows and stuff. Really. And since growing up there, you need certain role models when it comes to blackness, right? The idea of blackness, because I was, sort of trying out certain things. So the role models that you would have in Germany, in West Germany in the 90s, in the early 1990s, would be great role models that you all know, which would be the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Huxtables, which you would be familiar with because they are from around here somewhere. I will try to visit them when I'm here. So yeah, and the funny thing about that, no, not funny thing, it's actually really it's really tragic actually, because most TV shows, all movies in Germany are dubbed in German. And you would have the young Will Smith speaking in a tone like this. And I know this is kind of, you probably did sound like this somehow in English. But imagine that in German, in a weird fake dialect, using fake terms that don't really exist. They're just supposed to be there to amplify sort of ebonics in German. And so yeah, that messes you up. That messes with your mind. Because eventually you will see like these young 13-year-old Afro-German kids, the few of them that you would actually meet, running around and talking to each other like this. Because they would think that is some sort of like identification with a black issue, with a black identity. And that is, I had the fun to look up actually these actors. The one that synchronized the movies and the TV shows. And so, yeah, of course, there was an older white guy who came up with the text and did the synchronization of Will Smith in this case, or I guess any other black actor on television, I would say. So yeah, in certain cases, this actually gets quite weird. You could imagine. So, speaking about the Afro-German experience, I guess, and cases of racism and all of that, I want to start with a piece. It's called Outstanding Behavior. Outstanding behavior. Stand out from the rest. Like the only representative. The way they will judge all of you. All of you. Remember to be outstanding. Remember to be outstanding by the damn ring of the bell. Like, shit, they're coming for you. They've got you now. Close eyes until the fingers fill with blood again. Oh, remember to be outstanding in mathematics, in athletics, in ethics, in everything. Oh, and quiet. Because eyes you draw through hallways. Always remember, whatever they think of you is what they will think of you, or... But don't let it on you, sweetie. No, actually, stand out. Stand out like a minstrel reference. Baggy and shiny and loud around no one in the cafeteria. Act like they do overseas. Well, actually act like they show on TV. So outstanding, and squeaky with the voice like a pickaninny pimp. Yeah. Just like the voiceovers they use over here. Stand out like if they want that nigga. They will get one pot-smoking penis to slap them on the rosy cheeks and walk off swinging like they know who's the king of the Kong now. Ha! Stand out from the rest like your application form